What if your favorite movie about the end of the world wasn't fiction anymore? This isn't a sci-fi film. This is Los Angeles, 2025.
Hey, so why don't you do it?
Once a paradise of palm trees and movie dreams, now haunted by abandoned shopping carts and silence. From drone footage to dash cams, viral clips aren't just noise. They're real-time postcards from a city unraveling. The California dream. It's now a freeway full of tents. How did the richest state in the US become ground zero for a quiet collapse? At Romekind, we walk into the shadows of paradise to ask, if this can happen in LA, what's next for the rest of us? Number 1. Light goes out on Skid Row. If you want a preview of a city's future, don't stare at the skyline. Look down at the sidewalk. That's Skid Row in Los Angeles, where America's illusion of prosperity slowly peels off like old paint on an abandoned billboard. Here, the American dream doesn't just struggle, it sleeps on cardboard, wrapped in donated blankets that barely shield from the night wind. The sidewalks are no longer public space. They're living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, sometimes nurseries. In 2024, Los Angeles County counted 75,312 people living without homes. That's a 40% increase in under 5 years. And it's not just the numbers that are rising, it's the tension, the despair, the quiet rage. Take Jasmine, a grocery clerk who lost her job after a robbery left her with a fractured arm. No insurance, no severance, no fallback. Her landlord gave her 15 days to leave. That was 6 months ago. Her car's now her shelter, but the battery died last week. Her daughter, living with a cousin 2 cities away. Or Diego, once a tech support lead, now a regular at church pantries. He cared for his father until the hospital bills swallowed his savings. Eviction didn't knock, it bulldozed through. He owns a resume, a diploma, even an expired Costco card, but no address. And in LA, no address means no chance. One little thing, they both said. Just one twist, and the sidewalk appeared beneath them like a trapdoor. People think Skid Row is the bottom, but it's not. It's a waiting room for those next in line. Some bring sleeping bags, others bring silence. What's missing is outrage, because when collapse is this gradual, it stops being news. It becomes background. But this isn't the background. This is the headline. Skid Row isn't broken. It's what happens when a system works exactly as designed, but only for the few. The light goes out, not with a bang, but with a whimper and a power outage. And in this shadowed silence, the city pretends not to hear. Your thoughts? Have you seen a place like this, where the dream flickers but nobody screams? Didn't put in the brochure. Number 2, fear behind closed doors. Forget crime thrillers. The most suspenseful place in LA today, your own front porch. That's how this story begins. No loud sirens, no dramatic break-ins, just quiet dread settling over neighborhoods once considered safe. Families glance over shoulders, noticing tents growing in adjacent yards. Moms ask, "Is that a tent?" And fathers nod, because homelessness crisis doesn't announce itself. It just shows up. Even those with homes feel the cracks. Parked cars double as bedrooms for families that can't afford rent. Kids are doing homework under streetlights. Landlords whisper about unprecedented property damage. Tenants whisper about uninhabitable units. The tension lives everywhere. In the hallways, in the block, where your kid waits for the school bus. At first, people felt sympathy. Conversations were soft. We need to help them. Now, silence. Doors stay locked. Security cameras record more. Gated communities add fences. The real shift? The fear isn't of the homeless, it's of losing poverty-stricken neighbors to desperation. And then yourself. What's worse, people start asking less, "How can we help?" and more, "Is it safe to walk out tonight?" The true threat? It's not the individuals on the sidewalk. It's the fraying system, holding everyone together. Public funding cut after cut, mental health services disappearing, social workers quitting. When the system unravels, fear becomes the currency. And suddenly, living behind closed doors feels like the only option to feel safe. Is a city still a city if no one can trust their doorstep anymore? Does the sense of community vanish once we fear our neighbors more than admire our skyline? In a city famous for walls, it's the invisible line between them and us that's disappearing fastest. Discuss below. Have you ever felt that quiet panic in a place you thought was home? Number 3, the invisible among us. Some ghosts walk among us, not dead, just undocumented. Not invisible by nature, but by design. That's how you know you've hit number 3, the invisible among us. In Los Angeles, roughly 81,000 undocumented immigrants live in LA County, often without access to anything resembling stability. They are laborers, parents, grandparents, neighbors, erased by a system that can't or won't see them. Most can't get an ID, much less rent. No driver's license, no health insurance. Many come to My Health LA, a no-cost county program, open until early 2024, just to avoid emergency room nightmares. But after that, nothing. They vanish into the city's shadows, unable to access shelters, benefits, or even a basic clinic visit. This invisibility isn't poetic, it's systemic. When shelters and affordable housing require you to show papers, a paycheck, or a past address, how do you fit in? You don't. You stay ghosted. Do you think a city that builds skyscrapers for tech bros would notice Grandma Maria Elena sleeping outside? She's 68, undocumented, and once counted among the unhoused Latino community. But by night, she disappears down alleys, out of maps, out of mind. They arrive seeking opportunity, but LA's hidden divide swallows them whole. A single health crisis or even a minor workplace injury can tip someone from worker to wanderer. No safety net, no recognition, just the concrete. And when shelters fill, tensions mount. Buses drop migrants without support. Hubs like Union Station overflow. Fights flare. It's not crime that sparks the spiral, it's neglect. And when the system turns a blind eye, the streets don't, they erupt. What would happen if we made them visible again? Could that spark real change? She was never a ghost, just undocumented. And maybe you're the first person who truly saw her story. Drop seen and noted below if Grandma Maria Elena stayed with you. There's more in the shadows, and we're not done yet. Roam kind, we tell the parts, they skip. Number 4, broken systems, broken trust. When the lights go out in the system, it's not just power that's lost, it's belief. Los Angeles didn't collapse with a bang. It cracked like a bad secret whispered too long, until one day, everyone noticed the silence. Once, neighborhoods had character. Now they have status codes. Hotspot 0, tent concentration, under patrol watch, that old donut shop, a boarded-up shelter for rats, that familiar corner store, robbed, closed, forgotten. Police aren't the villains in this chapter, they're ghosts. not because they want to vanish, but because there aren't enough of them. LA's police department has shrunk dramatically, and so has the time it takes for a simple dispute to turn into a community emergency. 911, that's a gamble. You might get help in 45 minutes, or you might get a voicemail. People stopped calling not out of defiance, but disappointment. They've learned there's no cavalry coming. Charities, once the backup plan, are running on fumes. Food banks turn people away by 10 in the morning. Emergency shelters post no bed signs by noon. Good intentions can't outpace a broken machine. Volunteers, once bright-eyed, now hand out meals with hands that tremble from burnout. And the ones who still try, they cry in their cars before heading home. Even compassion has a limit. And while all of this unfolds, the homelessness crisis deepens. It seeps into sidewalks, laundromats, clinics. A principal in East LA recently said, "We don't track grades anymore. We track which students had a meal last night." This isn't the kind of collapse you see in movies. There's no explosion, just exhaustion. And the worst part, people are adapting. That's how decay becomes normal. Locked doors, quiet neighbors, faded optimism. We don't fix the system. We just lower the volume so we can sleep. But here's the real question. What happens to a city when people no longer believe it's on their side? When trust isn't broken in a moment, but drained, drop by drop, over years? Trust is the last currency of a failing city. And here, it's already bankrupt. Number 5. Working but homeless. Wake up at 6 a.m. in a suit. Fall asleep under a tarp by midnight. The new American work ethic. That line hits hard because it really exists. Meet Luis, a former aerospace technician with a degree in physics, working full-time as a remote logistics coordinator, earning $24 per hour. On paper, it looks stable. In reality, he sleeps in a minivan parked behind a church, no permanent address, no reliable internet, no place to shower. After a flash flood destroyed his rental home in early 2023, everything unraveled. Documents, tools, and access to digital workspaces. How does a skilled, full-time worker end up unhoused? When the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles sits at $2,176 per month, having a job isn't enough. Add rising food costs, medical expenses, car insurance, and suddenly stability is a memory. So Luis clocks in, manages supply chains for clients in 3 time zones, then logs off and eats dinner cold in the dark. Sometimes it's canned tuna, sometimes it's just water and sleep. His day job says professional. His nightlife screams left behind. He's not chasing luxury. He just wants a door to close behind him, a safe place to reboot. But between damaged credit, no fixed address, and the loss of ID in the flood, finding a rental is like trying to win the lottery with no ticket. Luis applied for help, but was told he earns too much for assistance. Too poor to rent, too rich for support. He exists in the dead zone, a gray area where effort doesn't equal safety. If working 40 hours a week still lands you in a van, what's the plan? And more importantly, how many of us are one disaster away from Luis's reality? In Luis's story, we don't just lose a home, we lose what it means to belong. What would you need? Not just to survive, but to actually live. Ever feel like you're one emergency away from Luis's life? If his story hit you, comment, "I'm with Luis," because working full-time shouldn't mean sleeping in a van. And hey, pause for just 10 seconds to hit subscribe and support Roam Kind. We've got more stories that matter. Let's explore them together. Number 6. Help that hurts. They say shelters are safe havens, but what if your shelter becomes your biggest loss? That question hangs heavy over Los Angeles, where the homelessness crisis has turned shelters into places people avoid. Inside, it's not refuge. It's a waiting room with moldy walls and tired warnings. They hand out dinners that taste like gloom. They lock up your stuff, but lose your memories. Like when veteran Tom had his dentures vanish, along with the only photo of his late brother tucked in his bag. That was the moment help stopped being helpful. Clients line up at dawn. They enter with hopes of clean sheets and warm food. Hours later, they leave traumatized. Thieves roam inside, arguments break out over beds, and the air smells of despair. Volunteers try their best. But when the system forces people into concrete dorms, not homes, dignity is what gets broken. They say billions have been spent on shelters. But ask those inside, and they'll tell you. Bitterness comes free. We're not talking charity that lifts you up. We're talking high taxes that fund prisons, patrols, and policies. But forget the people they're meant to serve. Yet some hold on. They show up the next night, even if sleep was fitful. They testify to human nature's stubborn glow. They remind us people want safety, not captivity. What does help really mean? A bed? A dirty cafeteria? A crowd of strangers and locked lockers? Or is it a place we can call ours? Somewhere we arrive, not where we're processed. You've seen lines at shelters. Maybe you've slept there once. For a night, a week. How did it feel? Was it help or just another kind of hurt? Because when help wounds the soul, is it still help? Or is it a silent surrender to an ugly reality? Your voice matters. Drop a comment if you've seen or heard a story about a shelter that actually worked, or one that hurt more than it healed. Number 7. Hope from the shadows. Not all heroes wear badges. Some wear baseball caps and carry rice cookers. That's how this story begins in Los Angeles. Not in city hall meetings or breaking news alerts, but in alleys and abandoned mechanics shops. Amid the homelessness crisis, where you'd expect despair, something different is growing. Grassroots grit, quiet courage, real kindness. Jordan isn't a politician or a millionaire. He's a former community college math instructor who inherited a dusty auto garage from his grandfather. Instead of selling it, he turned it into a safe house for women and LGBTQ+ youth. It started with one broken cot and a water cooler. Now, 15 beds, Wi-Fi, a shared pantry, a big whiteboard with daily goals and movie nights scribbled in Sharpie. One of his first guests was a high schooler kicked out after coming out to their family. That night, Jordan gave them a blanket, a grilled cheese, and a locked door that only they could open. The teen stayed for a week. Then another person came, and another. This movement doesn't show up in policy papers. It lives in microwave burritos, ceiling fans donated by neighbors, and volunteers showing up after work with boxes of toothpaste, clean clothes, reliable internet, a quiet space to read. That's what gives people the confidence to imagine more than just surviving. Organizations like Path and the People Concern are following similar models, transforming neglected spaces into real havens. They do more than provide shelter. They listen, they protect, they empower. No bureaucracy, no security pat-downs, just a welcome mat and someone who remembers your name. What's most shocking? These efforts run on shoestring budgets and human will. A rice cooker here, a bookcase there, and suddenly a family feels human again. Not a case, a person, a neighbor. In LA, billions go to development plans, but these homes with heart. They're built on generosity and guts. And while government programs get debated, people like Jordan are just unlocking doors. It's not a miracle, it's just kindness, consistency, and a key. So, we ask, in a city this large, why do the biggest acts of hope feel so small and so invisible? Who are the Jordans in your neighborhood? If you've ever helped someone quietly, shared a meal, gave a ride, or just listened, drop a quietly in the comments. Let's fill this thread with proof that the heart of the city still beats. Number 8. Cost of living, cost of dignity. In LA, a sandwich costs $12. A one-bedroom, $2,176. Dignity? That's a luxury item now. You get it? This is number 8. Cost of living, cost of dignity. In June 2025, average rent for a one-bedroom in LA is $2,176. That's 34% above the national average. And it's not just rent. Groceries, utilities, gas, all creeping higher. If work doesn't pay, you're one bill away from losing everything. When average Social Security checks are about $1,200 per month, seniors face a brutal choice: medicine or rent. And guess what? Many pick pills. It's not about losing a job. It's poverty wearing a glossy LA mask. Inflation's no joke. Loaf of bread costs $8. A basic soup? $12. When food prices match a latte at Trader Joe's, how do you stretch a dollar? In some parts of LA, you've got art shows at $150 a ticket. A few blocks away, people fight over ramen packets. The city is doing a weird balancing act. Luxury villas next to tent cities. The middle class? Poof, vanished. Local shops close. Loyal customers vanish. The economic heartbeat flatlines. What happens when rents chase away families and businesses fold? The dream city becomes a ghost town of convenience stores and cease and desist letters. You walk past a shiny cafe and wonder, who's paying for this? Here's the kicker. More than half of households in LA are rent-burdened, spending over 30% of their income just to stay above ground. Imagine working full-time, paying taxes, and still being homelessness, crisis adjacent because of rent. When everyday life demands so much, what dignity is left? Is a city still living if it costs humanity to breathe? What would it take for LA to forgive us such steep prices for both money and self-respect? Number 9. The forgotten builders. They built your highways. They taught your kids. They held your loved ones' hands in hospital rooms. Now, they sleep behind dumpsters. This isn't a plot twist. It's a slow fade, the kind that happens when no one's watching. The forgotten builders of Los Angeles are hiding in plain sight, not because they want to, but because they have nowhere else to go. There's Rosa, a former chemistry teacher who once coached science fairs and helped students apply for Ivy League schools. She now picks recyclables to buy instant oatmeal. There's Marcus, an Air Force veteran who logged over 12 years in active duty. Today, he sleeps in a rusted sedan parked near a church. His pillow? A backpack filled with his discharge papers and blood pressure meds. These aren't rare exceptions. They're everywhere. And the saddest part? You've probably passed one today and didn't even know it. They once believed in the system. They filed taxes, voted, paid mortgages. Now they're paying a different kind of price. One that doesn't show up on credit reports. Dignity. That's what it costs now to be poor in LA. The homelessness crisis isn't a wave. It's a slow, silent flood. Over 75,000 people in LA County face homelessness as of this year. And many of them used to be the ones you'd call in an emergency, not the ones you cross the street to avoid. Public schools try to keep up. Breakfast programs, laundry closets, emergency showers. Teachers are now social workers. Counselors are sleep therapists. It's noble, but nowhere near enough. And then there's the irony. The very people who helped build the safety nets now fall through them. Teenagers are quitting school to pick up shifts. Single parents are juggling 3 jobs and still choosing between diapers or gas. Seniors skip meals to afford heat. The poverty line, it's not a line anymore. It's the shape of the city itself. Next time you hear someone say, "Get a job," ask, "How do you apply?" when you don't have a phone, clean socks, or a place to charge your laptop. In a country built on labor, it's the laborers who now fight just to be seen as human. You ever think your old teacher might be behind the gas station now? Yeah, us too. Comment, "That's real," if you've seen this happening near you. Or say, "Wake up LA," because maybe it's time we all stopped scrolling past the truth. Don't go anywhere. It gets heavier, but also more human. Number 10. A quiet exodus. No riots, no headlines, just U-Hauls and sold signs. This is how a city dies, one departure at a time. What if collapse didn't burst onto the scene but tiptoed away? That's the quiet exodus. From 2020 to 2024, California lost a staggering 1,460,000 residents, while Los Angeles County alone saw around 90,000 people walk away in 2022. Why leave? High cost of living, long commutes, though we don't mention high taxes in every list. And yes, the homelessness crisis breathing down every block. Families, seniors, even college graduates hit the road. They're not quitting. They're choosing not to drown. Here's the scope. 1% of LA County vanishing in a year. No blare of sirens, no apocalypse, just empty storefronts where 3-generation grocery stores once stood, now closed after robberies, after fear, after fatigue. The owner's words linger. Staying here feels like choosing to fall apart slowly. They leave out of exhaustion, out of self-preservation, out of quiet desperation. Those who can't leave, they sink deeper. What remains are tents in once safe neighborhoods, RVs popping up under freeway overpasses, life unfolding in the shadows of privilege. So ask yourself, what happens to a city when it bleeds its middle class? When those with enough to leave do, and those without are left behind? Despite billions spent and the buzz of Measure A's half-cent tax to fund shelters and affordable housing, early signs show a drop. Unsheltered homelessness declined up to 10% last year. That's progress, but a drop doesn't reverse a hemorrhage. And for those who stay, it's not because they're strong, it's because they have nowhere else to go. If your city can't hold on to its people, can it still be called a city? What keeps us rooted? Land, community, opportunity, or is it just the fear of the unknown? There was no Big Bang, no sirens, just silence, and skid marks on dignity. Los Angeles didn't collapse overnight. It simply forgot how to hold itself up. Yes, roofs were built, but foundations still cracked. Yes, money was spent, but trust still bankrupt. So here's the question. No drama intended. Is a city still alive if its people no longer believe in it? Thanks for watching Roam Kind. We're not saying wake up. We're just saying maybe it's time we all looked where the lights go out first.